Why everyone is leaving Paraguay. In recent years, there has been a significant trend. It is true that a noticeable number of people, we're talking about expats, to Paraguay end up leaving the country. While some people decided to get residency in this South American gem, many people come here and decide not to stay. Today I'm going to fill you in on a number of key issues that I'm personally witnessing while living in Asunción, Paraguay. I'm going to point out some of the most hidden issues that are part of life in this South American country and how you can navigate these challenges effectively. You see, Paraguay is a country of great opportunities. Some people call Paraguay the land of opportunity, a name that was previously enjoyed by the United States of America back in the 20th century, 19th century. America was the land of opportunity. Despite of the key benefits expats to Paraguay get to enjoy, like the territorial tax system, the low local taxes, no economic solvency requirement for getting residency in Paraguay, small government, low cost of living, and all the other perks that come with living in this beautiful landlocked country. There are some key issues that I want to highlight right here, right now. One of the biggest reasons why expatriates to Paraguay decide to leave this country is because of a lack of economic opportunities. While many people, we're talking about North Americans, Americans, Canadians, and also Europeans, Australians, decide to relocate to Paraguay for economic opportunities, many people don't find these economic opportunities in Paraguay. Why is that? This is happening because there is a lack of demand in many industrial categories, leading to way fewer sales volume, and naturally fewer businesses are selling these services. And this is also why exported goods are a lot more expensive in Paraguay. Of course, the taxes have to do with it, but just because of its location. Look at the map. Where is Paraguay located? You will find out that Paraguay is located in the heart of South America. It is a landlocked country, and consequently, shipping goods into Paraguay is a lot more expensive than if you were to ship goods into Mexico. Something that we have highlighted in a previous video is that there is a lack of high-paying job opportunities in Asunción, Paraguay. Unlike a different geographic location like Southeast Asia that is booming with high-paying job opportunities, Paraguay definitely has a lack of high-paying, prosperous jobs. And again, this has to do with the fact that certain industries are just not present here. There's just not enough happening, and that's because there's just not enough demand. There's just not enough happening. Whereas in other geographic locations, especially in the East, industry is booming. And of course, if you want to come to Paraguay, make Paraguay your home, it is super important for you to have a job, to have income. Unless you're fortunate enough to have a location-independent business, you have perhaps passive income, or perhaps you're an international entrepreneur that is not dependent on income from just Paraguay, but has income from multiple geographic locations. It's just going to be a lot harder for you to make it here. And a lot of the times, expatriates, let's say working class, middle class people, want to come here to find the same jobs they had back home. However, these jobs in Paraguay, they don't pay very well. And in my opinion, it's a lot better to live on the minimum wage in a Western country than it is to live on a minimum wage in a South American country. When we're talking about this from a proportionate perspective, the cost of living here is just much higher, right? So if you have a way above median income in Paraguay, then yes, you're going to live a lot better than in a lot of Western countries. Even if your income is much lower when compared to other Western countries, you're going to live a lot better here. Why? Goods and services are cheaper. Perhaps not goods that are imported, but services are certainly cheaper in Paraguay than they are in the US, in the European Union, Australia, and so forth. So if you want to come to Paraguay and make Paraguay your home, it is very important that you bring an in-demand skill set with you to Paraguay and to the table so that you can have an above average income that allows you to live an above average lifestyle in Paraguay. Another reason is that a lot of people in Paraguay work 45 to 48 hours a week. And when you get started working in Paraguay, the first year, you don't even have 2 weeks of vacation time. You have less than that, right? And if you stayed with a company for 5 or 10 years, of course, you can have as much as a month annual vacation time. But it takes many years of loyalty to the company before the owners of the company may decide to give you more vacation time than the average person. I think this goes without saying, and this is very universal across job sectors in the Western Hemisphere. People have a lot less vacation time in Asia. And a lot of the times, especially in Southeast Asian countries and East Asian countries, people are only off during the Lunar New Year, which of course is not celebrated in South America. Another big reason for expatriates to leave Paraguay is the lack of infrastructure outside the metropolitan Asunción. Now, it is true that the road, let's say you want to travel from Asunción to Ciudad del Este, the road's pretty good, okay? There's very little to complain about. There are some issues, but it's not horrendous. However, if you go into the rural areas, things look very different. If you go to the countryside, if you go to like smaller towns, if you go to villages, you will see what I'm talking about. And the same can also be said about neighboring countries, perhaps, like Bolivia. In Argentina, it's definitely better, even Brazil, right? The infrastructure is not perfect here. And oftentimes, when an expatriate from a more developed nation decides to come to Paraguay with the intention of making Paraguay their home, a lot of the times people are comparing. Infrastructure was so much better back home and it's so much worse here in Asunción, Paraguay. A lot of the times people come to Paraguay with this very mindset, ignoring the fact that Paraguay is an emerging country. Taxes are substantially lower in Paraguay, so naturally there's a lot less money for improving the infrastructure. But don't get me wrong, it is happening, but it is not happening as perfectly as you want to. Next up, bureaucracy is another reason why a lot of people decide not to get fully involved with Paraguay. And what do I mean by bureaucracy? Just having a look at the residency process here, look, it's not terrible, but it isn't the best either. I mean, the barrier of entry is placed relatively low. Without economic solvency, you can get residency in Paraguay. So this very unique value proposition that Paraguay offers to you is really a big factor as to why people are immigrating to Paraguay. However, it takes at least 90 days to get approved for Paraguayan residency. In Uruguay, if you qualify for Uruguayan residency, you can get your residency within as little as a week, which is a significantly lower and much faster turnaround time than what you're dealing with in Paraguay. I totally understand that in many countries, including the most developed nations on this planet, including the United States of America, sometimes you have to wait for years before you get residency. So from this point of view, Paraguay is not doing horribly at all, but it is not doing perfectly either, right? There is room for improvement, and the same also holds true if you decide to incorporate a business in Paraguay, which can take much longer than in many other countries. And if you want to change anything, let's say you want to add an owner to the company, you want to add a shareholder, perhaps you want to make some other changes to the books, just be aware that it can take much longer than in many other countries. One of the key benefits that we have outlined already throughout our videos is that because of the low local taxes in Paraguay, being at 10% at the most, you're not gonna get skinned alive financially by the Paraguayan government, unlike more developed Western countries that have income tax rates of up to 55% or 60%. Paraguay is home to a very low personal income tax rate. And like I've pointed out, Paraguay is home to a territorial tax system where you don't pay income taxes on foreign sourced income. Is political instability a problem in Paraguay? The answer is no. Paraguay is relatively politically stable. Unlike other countries in South America, Paraguay's political system is a lot more stable, right? There aren't a lot of changes happening. The dictatorship came to an end late 20th century, and things have been going uphill ever since. However, there are some issues here in Paraguay, right? And this isn't about politics here, or it isn't just about politics, but there are some concerns in this country. Perhaps slow reforms in certain sectors have created a little bit of unease among expatriates to Paraguay, as the expectations are actually quite different. One of the biggest reasons, and maybe I should have mentioned this reason right at the very beginning of the video, is of course the language barrier here. It's a big concern. So if you come from North America, where you are accustomed to speaking English, and you settle down in Paraguay, you quickly realize that Paraguay is not exactly an English-speaking country. although a good portion of the younger generation, we're talking about millennials, Generation Z, speak English fluently, the majority of people still don't, making Spanish a mandatory skill. Living in Paraguay, doing anything in Paraguay, so you have to speak Spanish to get by, to live in Paraguay. Some people have gone as far as hiring a personal assistant to deal with everyday tasks in Paraguay. Now, I've said it is true that a lot of the times you're dealing with less Spanish in some places. Why? People are starting to learn English. It is changing, but it is not changing as fast as you want it to. Of course, like in any country, there are some cultural differences in Paraguay. So a lot of the times people come to Paraguay with the expectation that it's just going to be like back home. No. It's not true. It's going to be very different. The whole experience will be very different. The language barrier is something you can minimize over time by improving your skill set. The cultural differences are always going to be in place. So if you bring your unique set of cultural skills, habits to Paraguay, and you start communicating with people of a different cultural skill set, you quickly realize that you're going to have to adjust and meet kind of in the middle if you want to talk to people here, if you want to integrate, right? It's not going to happen overnight, but the key is always adjustment. I would never move to a country without being willing to adjust, without learning the local language, without learning the cultural norms. I think this is a prerequisite to becoming successful in any country. Understanding the local people, the Paraguayans, must be our top priority. The weather. A lot of people are complaining about the weather here. It's hot, it's sizzling hot. And oftentimes people come here during their winter time, which is Paraguayan summertime. So if you come from the northern hemisphere into Paraguay during your winters, it's going to be a very different experience than probably anything you have experienced so far. Why? It is sizzling hot in Paraguay. How hot is it? You come here and experience it. Now, one of the good things is that this year, late 2024, early 2025, it's actually been cooler than last summer in Paraguay. So Paraguayan summer, right? December, January, February, March, possibly, is always happening during these months, right? December, January, February, and March too. So we have like 3 to 4 months of really hot weather. But last year, like I've pointed out, it's been much hotter than this year around. But it's probably going to be much hotter than anything you are accustomed to, unless you're from a southern state like Texas, Florida, Southern California, or don't know, maybe you are from the Gold Coast in Australia, or you're from Southeast Asia or Central America. You're going to find it very hot here, right? The humidity is not the problem, but the temperatures are very high. But the good thing is that Paraguay has multiple seasons. So Paraguay does not just have one season or 2 seasons, right? And possibly for a week or 2 weeks annually, it's going to be cold as well. Another issue that I'm seeing people pointing out, which is a valid concern, is that infidelity is actually quite common in Paraguay. And unfortunately, this is the truth, and there's very little that you can do about it. You have to take precautions before getting seriously involved with any person here. Okay, I'm not just talking about men right now. I'm talking about women as well. Infidelity is a big part of the Paraguayan culture, and you can find very conservative, traditional, good-hearted women here, but you have to search for them. And obviously you have to do your due diligence. Nothing is for free. But just talking about personal experience, right, from the people I know, from what I am seeing, and this is actually quite common across Latin America. It is a bit less common in certain countries than in others, but generally speaking, infidelity is quite high in Latin America. So you have to be aware of this fact, and unfortunately this is a big part of the culture here. It is home, like Paraguay is home to a machismo culture. As always, my recommendation is to stay off the dating apps. Go out there in real life, start talking to people, start building connections, and just do it. Get off the dating apps, right? But that alone is not enough. You have to do your due diligence. Most importantly, be patient. Don't rush into anything, and don't tie the knot unless you're 100% sure that you're dealing with what you want, with who you want, right? And you can never be 100% sure, but just create as much certainty as possible. Do your due diligence, run some tests if need be, and be comfortable with your decision before you tie the knot. Why is everybody leaving Paraguay? Are there any significant reasons that I forgot forgot to mention inside this video. If so, please comment below. If you're interested in relocating to Paraguay and working with Nomad Elite, please book a consultation with us today. Go to nomadelite.com. I'll personally consult you on the best available residencies in Paraguay and also in other Latin American countries. Thank you so much for watching Nomad Elite. We appreciate your attendance and we look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.